Nordic Tales and American Trails is an outdoor and hunting podcast focusing on tales and trails from Northern Europe and the USA, hosted by Erik from Sweden and Adam Fu from Louisiana. The podcast covers all aspects of the outdoors, with a special emphasis of hunting with dogs. We will explore the unique tales and trails of our region, the various dog breeds used in hunting, and the differences in hunting practices between the USA and Northern Europe. Okay, welcome to Nordic Tales and American Trails. This is going to be a little bit of a special one. I'm assuming my dear friend and co-host Adam Wu has some technical difficulties, so I'm going to try to do a little bit of recording here by myself while we wait for him, and we're going to see if this turns out to be a shorter one or a full episode. So, we've been hunting moose here now for a full week, so 5 days of hunting. We started on Tuesday, and I'm now recording this on Sunday morning. But me and Adam is gonna talk about the moose hunting together. So we're gonna talk a little bit of numbers because I actually got a question here a few weeks ago from one of our podcast listeners on what dog breed I would recommend to hunt wild boars. And that took me down a little bit of a rabbit hole here. So we're gonna dive in a little bit to that. So I'm gonna let you know there's gonna be some numbers in this, and we're gonna try to post about that in our Facebook group as well. So it might be easier to follow that way. So the question was simply what Swedish spitz breeds I would recommend to use for wild boar, and I instantly said that I would personally recommend West Siberian Lyca, East Siberian Lycas, and Karelian bear dogs. But we also do have plenty of Swedish elkhounds and Norwegian elkhounds that obviously are used on wild boars. But this took me down a little bit of a rabbit hole because here in Sweden we have access to hunting trials. Any hunting trials here is public knowledge. So I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole here. So bear with me here. So wild boar hunting trials here in Sweden is fairly new. Or it's not new, but it has not been around for as long as our moose trials has been. So I looked at the last 2 years of data. So let's see how it looked. And for reference, I'm using Russian European Lycas, and I'm now using, or I have my 10-month-old Sarah, which is a West Siberian Lyca, which I'm very, very pleased with. She's been performing very, very well. I actually hunted her here yesterday. But yeah, okay, so in Sweden, we had in total... So the question was, which would be the best suited wild boar dog? And another question would also be, which would be the best suited for game recovery on leash? So that's going to be the two things I'm going to talk about, and then we're going to see if Adam shows up. So first off, for the last 2 seasons on wild boar trials here. So for a wild boar trial, you're judging search, perimeter, you're judging how well the dogs work with the handler. You obviously judge how loud it barks, how actively it barks, how it engages, if it's hunting in front or behind the game, how long it stays bayed. So you want to let the dog loose. The goal is for the dog to do a few searches, hopefully find the game in question. So you will do a mixed trial, so it will be both moose and wild boar will be okay for the dog to chase during the hunting trial. And then obviously you want the animal to be bayed up, and depending if it's a moose or a wild boar trial, the dog needs to bay the game for a set amount of times, and then depending on how long it's bayed up, you get different scores. And then the hunter or the judge will walk into the bayed animal, firstly to judge what game it actually is baying on, see how the dog is working on the bay itself, and then try to push it a little bit. So you want the game to move a few 100 yards, because you want to judge the dog's ability to rebay, to make the game to stop again. Because the goal obviously is for the dog to stay with it, to be able to rebay. And you're going to do that 2 times, and then you need then you back out and you wait a little bit and all that. So that's what comes into all the judgment. There's 10 main criteria that we judge on both moose and wild boar. So for the last 2 seasons, there have been a few trials that's been above 80 points. So 100 points is max, which I think you can probably find 1 or 2 moose trials for the last 40 years that actually gone to 100 points. But like anything above 80 to 90 is a very good trial. Above 70 is Diploma 1. And then you have Diploma 2, and then you have Diploma 3, and then 0 point, or no Diploma. So for the last 2 seasons here, we have had 19 Siberian Lycas with a hunting trial score on wild boars above 80 points. We have had 1 Russian European Lyca, which is funny enough actually the dad or the sire to my Russian European Lyca Daisy. A big part of me actually want to get a puppy from that litter. We have had 1 West Siberian Lyca. We have had 3 Karelian bear dogs. We have had 4 Swedish elkhounds, and we have had 7 Norwegian elkhounds. So number 1 breed when it comes to highest hunting trial scores would be East Siberian Lyca on 19, followed by Norwegian elkhound on 7, Jämthund or Swedish elkhound on 4, and then Karelian bear dog on 3. But to put those numbers in perspective a little bit more, in Sweden we have 20,000 Swedish elkhounds, we have 8,000 Norwegian elkhounds, and we have 2,500 East Siberian Lycas, about 1,000 Karelian bear dogs, 800 West Siberian Lycas, and 80 Russian European Lycas. So when you take into the account that there's roughly 4 times as many Norwegian elkhounds and almost 10 times as many Swedish moose dogs than there is East Siberian Lycas, and the East Siberian Lycas are still the highest performer on when it comes to wild boar trials. And I also think it's worth noting that Karelian bear dog on 10,000 or on 1,000 dogs actually have 3 hunting trials above 80 on wild boar, while the Swedish elkhound on 20,000 dogs only has 4. So yeah, so I'm standing with it that East Siberian Lyca, Karelian bear dog, but also West Siberian Lycas are, in my opinion, some of the stronger dogs, spitz for wild boars. Our Swedish elkhound and Norwegian elkhound are simply so bred on hunting moose. I think if you give it 5-10 more years, I'm kind of sure that's gonna balance itself out a little bit. Now when the moose population here is slowly going down and the wild boar numbers are going up. But then if we dive it into a little bit even more, let's see if our listeners actually enjoy a podcast like this. I hope you do. Please reach out to us if you like it or if you don't like it. So if we're just looking on Diploma 1s for the last 2 seasons, let's see if the number stays with us. So maybe the East Siberian Lycas only perform really high or it doesn't perform at all. But on female dogs, last 2 seasons, Diploma 1s, we still have East Siberian Lycas highest up on 19 Diploma 1 trials. We have Norwegian elkhound on 9. We have Karelian bear dog females on 6. We have Swedish elkhound on 4. And we have 3 West Siberian Lycas female with Diploma 1 on wild boars. On the male side then, we still have East Siberian Lycas on top. We have Norwegian elkhound on 7. But then we have West Siberian Lycas on 7 as well. And this is something I personally think and I feel that for some reason when it comes to dog breeding here, it feels and looks that it is a little bit easier to get the males going. Within a small breed, it's easier to get 1 or 2 really good males in a litter, but to get the quality of females and the quality of the whole puppy litter to go up is the big challenge when it comes to smaller breeds. So in Sweden, we only have 800 West Siberian Lycas, so like the population isn't that big. It takes time and effort to really get good breedings done. And that's something I'm very happy with here, that we actually have the Swedish Lyca Club, who is, from my point of view, very knowledgeable and very helpful, and tries to work for its best ability to help the breeds moving forward, which would be Swedish, or which would be East Siberian Lycas, West Siberian Lycas, and Russian European Lycas. That falls under the Swedish Lyca club here in Sweden. And on that topic, we hope we can get the Lyca chairman, Michael, who me and Darren hunted with, to join us on a podcast here in the near future. So if we sum it up, we have East Siberian Lycas on 39 Diploma 1 trials, and the second dog breed that follows on that is Norwegian Elkhound on 16, and then we have Karelian Bear Dog on 8 and West Siberian Lycas on 10. So it's interesting as well for me that the Karelian Bear Dog females have actually outperformed the Karelian male dogs on wild boar trials for the last 2 years. And the same goes for Swedish Elkhounds. And that's something that a lot of people talk here. When it comes to only hunting wild boars, I know plenty of hunters, and myself included, that performs to hunt females. The feeling for me is that I think they're a little bit less prone to be injured. Like, if a male dog gets angry and the testosterone goes wild, it's gonna put itself in a dangerous position rather than taking a second to relax, catch a breath, and see what actually happened. And I think that results in hunting with females a little bit less prone to injuries. But I have no real substance behind that statement. That's just something that I personally feel. So I hope that's a good response to what of the Swedish spitz breeds I would recommend for wild boar hunting. And I know when Darren was here in Sweden hunting with me a few weeks ago now, he was very, very impressed with our East Siberian Lycas. Let's see if we can actually maybe get some East Siberian Lycas over to USA. That would be cool to see how the East Siberian Lycas would actually work on 3 in game over in the US. So I hope that's a good question, and thank you for the feedback to the listener that sent that in. And then we go into the second question, which would be, what dog breed would you recommend to use for wounded game recovery? And this is a fun one for me, because we're actually going to have one of our bigger supporters going to be on here shortly, and he actually does wounded game recovery in the United States with his Norwegian Elkhound. And that's the short, very simple question for me. If you want to track game with a spitz breed, the Norwegian Elkhound is by far the strongest tracker, especially if you would get a dog from blood tracking lines. So when it comes to the Norwegian Elkhound, you can start them on 2 different moose trials. You can start them on a moose trial on leash, which basically means you walk behind the dog is on a leash, and you're gonna judge the dog's physical appearance and how it acts to judge if there's a moose very close by or not. Me and Darren shortly talked about that, because you also have the black Norwegian Elkhound, which is a dog breed that's only used in that way, never off leash. So when it comes to tracking wounded game, I would definitely go with the Norwegian Elkhound. Now, I know a lot of Norwegian Elkhounds in the United States have gone a few good generations away from actually hunting dogs. So if I was listening in from America and I wanted to do wounded game recovery with a spitz breed, I would actually look into see if I could actually get a dog directly from Norway or Sweden or Finland that comes from bloodlines that does leash trials or hunting on leash mainly. And I'm 100% sure that would work out wonderful for all the wounded games you have in the United States. So yeah, that's a little bit of what spitz breeds I would recommend here in Sweden for hunting wild boars in the United States and across Europe. But I also think it's definitely worth a note here that Norrbotten spitz and Finnish spitz, there are getting lines within both those dog breeds. Really, really small, really, really driven spitz hunting dogs that I think will be as good as any of the Lycas on wild boars. The biggest thing here with the East Siberian Lycas is that basically they're 4 or 5 times as many as the West Siberian Lycas. I think if the West Siberian Lycas actually catch up in numbers, I think both of those breeds are gonna be the number one breeds for our wild boar trials, actually. I can see Norwegian and Swedish shell accounts catch up a little bit, but they've been bred for 80 years now with the sole purpose of hunting moose, and even though we have plenty of wild boars these days, a lot of the breeders pushing those breeds still only want to hunt moose, and then obviously they're gonna focus their breeding programs on hunting moose. So yeah, that's a little bit of an extra episode here with some numbers. I'm gonna tell Adam to edit this and try to push it out here during this week. This is recorded on 13th of October, so hopefully we can get this out as a little bit of compensation for me being full hunting in the moose forest. We've been hunting here for 5 days, and we have had plenty of success and plenty of improvement of my dogs and some friends' dogs, and it's been an amazing week in the woods. But it also left us with a little bit less of time to actually sit down and record a podcast episode. And the week before, we had some technical struggles, or rather, I'm gonna out Adam here, but I think he forgot his computer at work, so we had no computer to record on from Adam's point of view. So yeah, that's that. We hope you have all enjoyed our podcast so far. We're above 1,100 followers now on Facebook, but we know a lot of people actually do not listen to the podcast. So please, please, please share the podcast with anyone you think is gonna enjoy it. Share it with friends, share it on Facebook. Any likes, any follows, any shares are greatly, greatly appreciated. And with that, I'm gonna round this special extra episode out, and hopefully Adam's gonna show up here shortly and we can be able to record a full one. If not, catch you later on. I wish you a good weekend and a good rest of the hunting season. And let us know if you enjoyed this little bit of stat number focused episode. And if not, well, let us know that as well. And with that said, this is Erik signing out.